world with milk. If you look at Denmark, Norway in the map, they're just very little countries, even almost not up to Lagos State. But how do they now achieve being the largest exporters of milk in the world? Now let me ask you a question. When does a woman produce milk from the breast? When? When she delivers a child, isn't it? And it applies to all animals. Even cows, it is when they deliver child that they produce the greatest amount of milk. Now, even if they don't deliver, they produce a little, very little, but they produce the most when they have delivered children. Now, how come they are able to produce so much milk? The Western world has been able to fathom out a secret that none of us have been able to decipher. And what is that secret? We call it hormones. Hormones. Now, they inject these cows with hormones that put them on a permanent state of, I have delivered. All right? They give them injections that make the cow believe, the brain will believe, I have just delivered. It has not delivered though, but it gives it that impression that it has delivered. And so the breast begins to do what? Produce milk. They give it food, they give it all the injections, and the breast becomes as big as buckets and is producing milk. Now, there's a downside to that. Remember, mothers, when you had your children, or those that have children, whatever you eat, your child will also do what? Will eat from where? From the breast milk. And so all of us, when we drink such milk that has been brought about through hormones, what are we also taking? We're taking in hormones. And what is the downside of taking in hormones? It begins to affect our entire system. It begins to affect our entire system. How do we know it's affecting our entire system? Let me give you some facts to help you understand what I mean. Hormones usually start for a girl child at the age of about 13, 14. She begins to menstruate. She begins to look like a woman by the time she's 17, 18, 19. But look around now. What's happening? We're having 8-year-olds menstruating. Have you noticed it? I happen to be one of those who did a research some time back with Unilag Consult. We're having a lot of our girl children starting menstruation earlier and earlier. A couple of years ago, we had a 10-year-old girl that was pregnant in Bagada General Hospital. And it is really tragic, it's very sad, because we're taking in so much hormones. It is affecting, you see 15-year-olds, they are already fully developed. Fully developed. You see men of 40, 50 running after 15, 16-year-olds, believing they're what? They are fully developed. Why? Because of all these hormones that we are taking in through our milk. There is a book I would like us to try and get. It's by Dr. Oski. You find it in very good bookshops. It's called Don't Drink That Milk. And that's one of the reasons. Also, we're having a lot of fertility issues. You see a young couple will get married. Both of them are virgins. 5 years, they're still waiting on the Lord. Why? Because the hormones of this body has become disorganized and disoriented because of so much hormones we're taking through our food. All right? And so we want to really cut it down. So refined carbohydrates, white sugar, polished rice, pastries, cakes, we need to minimize them. And the beautiful thing is that we have so much good things around us. We have our own local rice, ofada, abakaliki, and all of that. Wonderful rice that we can eat instead of the polished rice that is being brought into us. That rice has been cooked. The so-called polished rice that we buy, so expensive, is being cooked at very high temperature, allowed to cool, polished, bleached, and bagged. That is why it can stay for so many years on the shelf without any issues. Also, we need to run away from all these, what's it called? Noodles. We call them brain sensitizers. Noodles with all those things that come in it. All those MSGs, we call them MSG. All those things you tear and then pour. They are MSG, monosodium glutamate. It's the same thing you have in all the cube seasonings. I don't want to mention names. You know the cube seasonings that women peel and put inside the soup? Please, we need to run away from them. They have we call them toxins that excite the brain. They excite the brain and soften the bones. So some of us have been eating for 20, 30 years, and by the time we are 50, we're having bone-related problems. It is because of all these things we are eating, but nobody ever associates them with food, you see, and that's why this education is very, very important. What about sweeteners? Aspartame. A lot of aspartame is going in as sweeteners in most of our foods. Most of our drinks are sweetened with sugar or aspartame. And aspartame is deadly. It's a laboratory-generated sweetener. It is not good for even the worst animal is not good for it, not to talk of for us as human beings. And of course, we all know alcohol, even coffee and tea, we need to be careful because of the caffeine. So minimize all these things. We need to really minimize them. If we understand what is behind it, we will do our best to minimize them. Now, you might not ask, what are the alternatives? If I say don't eat sugar, don't drink milk, don't drink this, don't eat that, what are the alternatives? Let me give you the alternatives, because before Maggi, let me pronounce it, we were eating, our mothers, our grandmothers, they were eating, were they not? What were they using? They were using iru, dawa, ogiri. Yes, they were using fish. What's it called? Palamu, shawa, agbodo. They were using all these wonderful things to make our soups and stews very, very delicious. And we can do the same without killing ourselves. All right? And so make water your friend instead of all these soft drinks. Let's move on. So these are some of the things we need to avoid because they are stimulants. Principle of moderation. All right? Whatever it is that you avoid, please avoid them. I've mentioned quite a number of them. Let us avoid them. Then those that we cannot avoid, let us minimize them. Like meat, you might not be able to totally avoid meat if you have small children, but you can minimize them. You can now add what? You can add fish, you can add scaly fish, you can add mushrooms, you can add snail. All these things are wonderful ways to run away from meat. You may ask, why do I say meat? Meat, when you take in meat takes 5 to 6 hours to digest. That's number one. Number two, meat gives you an acidic residue. When you eat meat, when it digests, it becomes acidic. And the more acidic your body is, the more you are prone to diseases. Disease will be going, and because your body is acidic, it will enter. All right? But if your body is alkaline, the disease will see you and jump and pass. So that's why you need to avoid meat or minimize your intake of meat so that your body is not acidic in nature. Shall we move on? So moderation is very important. Let's move on, please. Principle of detoxification. Detoxify your body and put your waste elimination system in turbo. What do I mean? If I said we should clean up this place now, it has been beautifully cleaned. What did we do? We swept, isn't it? And mopped. Am I wrong? Yes, we swept and we mopped. That's the way we cleaned up this place. And the same thing applies to as well. We need to always sweep and mop our system. How do we do that? We take water. Water is so, so critical. There are some people who do not drink enough water. All right? It is so, so important. This is one of the best ways to do what? To remove toxins, to eliminate waste from the body. Have you noticed that if you take enough water in the morning, where are you visiting? You are visiting the toilets. Immediately, if you take enough water, it will cleanse your system. So you need to detoxify. It is the most important thing you can do for your body. A lot of people, 2-3 days, if they don't visit the toilet. Some even 4 days. I know somebody who says she goes to toilet once every 4 days, and it's bad. See, that's how my body is. That is a bad body. It's a bad body. A good body should detoxify every day. My husband used to fight my son because he goes to toilet 3 times a day, and I said, that is the best thing you can have. To have a little baby, every time a baby breastfeeds, after a few hours, what happens? When you open the nappy, it has really, what the body did not use, it will just bring it out because the body is still very, very clean. But as we grow older, eat. the body becomes overloaded and we start going once a day and we believe it's the best. No. We're supposed to go at least 3 times a day. But if we don't, twice a day is very, very good. People run away from going to toilets. Maybe because our toilets are somehow. But ideally, you should be going to toilet after every meal. A meal will take 4 to 6 hours to digest, and after it, the body takes out the waste. You should bring out that waste immediately. That way, your body will be free of diseases. You will not store anything that the body does not need, because there's no vacuum in the body. Let's move on. So, detoxification, very, very important. So, we need to know these facts. Every disease is caused or initiated by something. It is promoted or sustained by something. No disease can stay or start in your body if there is nothing to initiate it or nothing to sustain it. So, something must always trigger a disease. You see, something must trigger it. That's why when you have a problem, think back to what could have triggered it. Could it be your food? Could it be that you're not sleeping well? You cannot get enough sunshine? You know, all of these things. We'll get to them as we go on. Shall we move on? What are toxins? Toxins are anything that is not supposed to be in your body, anything that is poisonous to your cells, your tissues, or your organs, or anything that interferes with the body's normal processes. Anything that interferes with the normal body or natural body process is a toxin. And so once we have that in mind, we will be able to know what the body needs to expel. That's why when you eat, as soon as the body has taken what it needs, it should expel what it does not need. Otherwise, it will become a toxin. You see, it's just like leaving food that you didn't cook, you didn't warm, you didn't put in the fridge on the table. What happens? It begins to smell. That's why when people eat and they don't expel waste, when they fart, let out the bombs, everybody runs away. When they talk, everybody runs away. Some will even have body odor. If they were not born that way, it's because they're not expelling toxins as at when due. You see, that's the major reason. Shall we move on? Shall we move on? So we have types of toxins. We have the ones that are outside of the body, the one that you pick up as you touch things like our little children, all right? And we have the ones that are internal. We call them endotoxins. And these are substances that are routinely or occasionally generated within the body. And sometimes it can compromise our health. Like when a mosquito bites you, all right? And the blood from the mosquito that it has picked up from someone that has a parasite is introduced into the body. Right? The parasite begins to grow, multiply, and then becomes a toxin in our bodies. So, 2 types, endo and exo. Let's move on. So, what are the effects of toxins on our bodies? It causes stress, it causes disease, it causes DNA damage, it prevents your body from healing, it can hinder nutrient absorption, makes your body to become dysfunctional, compromises your immunity, and interferes with the cycle transport within the body. Even toxins can kill. And so we need to understand that toxins should be removed from our bodies constantly. Constantly. Toxins need to be removed from our bodies constantly. Otherwise, they begin to disrupt the way the body works. Let's move on. Shall we make it snappy? So what are some sources of toxins? Remember we said education is what we need, not what? Medication. Plastic. Now, when we talk of plastics, I want to dwell about 3 or 4 minutes on this particular topic. Plastics. Plastics are toxins when not used properly. And I want to encourage us here that we need to go back to our roots in the use of plastics. When plastics are heated, they begin to melt and they will now go into the food that is in that plastic. And so we need to be careful about how we use plastics, especially we women who are usually in the kitchen. Today I see a lot of misuse of plastic. All right? And I want you to be aware of some of the damage that plastic can do if we do not use it properly. Never ever put hot food in plastics. Never. Never ever. When you do that, the plastic melts into that food, and as you eat it consistently, I can guarantee you, within a 5 to 20-year period, such a person will come down with one form of cancer or the other. All right? Cancer takes between 5 to 25 years to begin to brew. Cancer doesn't come within 2-3 years, 5 to 25 years. And that's why you find people who come down with cancer, they're already 40, 45, 50, prime of life. Never ever put hot food into plastics. Some of us will boil meat, the water, bam, we put it inside plastic and put it in the freezer. Please, never do that. Don't do moi moi in plastics. So when you go to food eateries where they use plastics for moi moi, please, I beg you, if you work in the eatery, I'm sorry, but please don't eat that moi moi. It is bad that you already put the hot food in the plastic, but now cooking the plastic with it is even worse. It's even worse. All right? It is even worse. And so, when you go to the eateries and you see that the plastic is hot, the moi moi is hot, please do what? Just walk away. There are so many other alternatives. And please also be careful about putting plastics in microwave ovens. People will put plastics and then heat up their food in it. It is very, very wrong. It is also wrong to do moi moi in nylon bags, Santana. Please, many people are guilty of that. Let us go back to the way our parents were doing it. Using what? Leaves. Away, the best of the best. I'm telling you the truth. The best of the best. Use your leaves. All right? If you don't have your leaves, just leave it. Don't do plastics in hot water, on the fire, or wherever. It is very, very wrong. All right? Very, very wrong. If you must do plastics, we have safe plastics. We call them BPA plastics. They are very expensive, but because most people don't even buy. We don't have it much here in Nigeria, but some of us may know about it. It's a hard form of plastic. It's BPA free. All right? Don't ever cook in plastics. Don't put hot things in plastics. And please, even amala in eba. You know we used to put it in nylon. Eh? Please, don't put the amala in eba when it is hot in the nylon. Yes, so I know everybody will cry. Oh. Put it in a plate and cover it and wrap it up in a very, very thick blanket or bed sheet. Chikena. Yes. Put it in a nice plate, put it in a bowl, a nice bowl, cover it up and wrap it. Get what I have in my house dedicated. I have a dedicated bed sheet, very thick one. I bought it specifically for keeping food warm. I put it in the warmer so that it keeps warm from morning till midday. All right? Instead of doing nylon. You might not appreciate this, but it is the truth. When people come to me and I see them coming down with certain illnesses and I ask questions, I know what has happened. So please, for the sake of our health, we need to be healthy till we're 100. God didn't make us to die. God made us to do what? To live and to enjoy life. So let us cooperate with God so that we can do that. Chemicals. Also, we need to be careful with the chemicals we use. Our cookware, what we use to cook. Aluminium. A lot of us use aluminium to cook, isn't it? Yeah. It's not bad to cook with aluminium. But many of us are not aware how we should use aluminium. Even the company that makes the aluminium says, when you have used aluminium pots for 24 months, maximum 2.5 years, you need to change the pot. Yes. We are all guilty of this. Why do we say so? One house, one house, one house, one house, one house. Ladies in the house. Ladies in the house. Ladies in the house. Think back. Just imagine the pots you have at home. I want you to think about the pots, the aluminum pots you have at home. How many of them have small indent? They don't have holes though, but small indentation. Chuku, 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 chuku. If I say we should put our hands up, I'm sure everybody will put up their hands. Do you know what has happened to that pot? The aluminium, as you cook and use your spoon to stir and bring food and meat for daddy and the children, what is happening? You are gradually scraping that pot, that aluminium, where? Into your food. And aluminium is a heavy metal. It doesn't leave the body. The only way it leaves the body is if you make the concerted efforts to make it leave the body. We have ways we make heavy metals leave the body. We call it activated charcoal. You have to take it in so that it binds with the heavy metals and go away. But that's not even the issue. The issue is that aluminium causes a disease we call the forgetfulness disease. We call it Alzheimer's. It is the layman's name for Alzheimer's is forgetfulness disease. That's why you see some people, they'll be wearing their cap. Yawomi, where's my cap? My dear, where's my cap? The cap is on his head though. Or sometimes you are in the parlor. You want to take something from the room. You go to the room. You come back to the parlor. You go again. I've forgotten what I wanted to pick from the room. Sometimes your car keys will be in your hand. You'll be looking for it. That is just very mild aspect of Alzheimer's. We have severe ones. People who will leave their homes and will not know the way back home. We have a lot of them. It is the accumulation of aluminium in the body, particularly the brain. Because we don't see these things, we don't believe. But that's the truth. And so, I always encourage people, start moving away from aluminium gradually and start using stainless steel. The heavier the stainless steel, the better for you. All right? So, I'm not saying you should go and throw away all your pots. Buy one and substitute with one at home. Throw one away when you buy one. When you buy a second one, throw the second one away. When you buy the third one, all right, until all the pots you have at home are what? Stainless steel. It is better for you and your health in the long run. All right? We also want to look at personal care. We have a lot of parents who buy roll-on for their daughters. Roll-on. Do we know roll-on? Yeah. We need to be careful. If you get home and you pick up your roll-on and it has anything to do with aluminium in it, just go and throw it in the dustbin. If you pick up your roll-on and it has anything to do with aluminium diphosphate, aluminium whatever, aluminium, and the word is almost breaking your jaw, please just throw that roll-on away. Why do I say so? The roll-on that you use, you see, what we need to understand is that we need to walk with God. God didn't make a mistake in what the creation he made. Or did he? He didn't. The Bible says when God finished creation, he looked at what he created and it was what? Very good. Not just good, very good. And so, one of the things that God has allowed us humans to go through is perspiration. We need to sweat. We need to perspire. But most times when we use roll-on, what do? We block that ability of the body to perspire. We forget that perspiration is the body's method of removing waste from the body. And so when you block that perspiration, these toxins just do what? Go back into the body. And there's no outlet, no way out. So it begins to brew, it begins to get worse and worse, putrefies. Begins to get worse and worse, and it can trigger anything. Anything, absolutely anything. May it not be our portion. So we do not need all those roll-on. Just take a good bath. All right? If you must use anything, you can use bicarbonate of soda, or just a nice powder and just rub it. That's all. Even your powders, be sure that it doesn't have any aluminum, whatever in it. All right? Just apply it and go your way. If you sweat, take a clean handkerchief and just clean. All right? Not these roll-ons that cause a lot of problems. Fried foods. We need to avoid fried foods as much as possible. Do you know that when you fry your foods, you just completely alter the chemical combination of that food once you fry it? I'm not saying we shouldn't fry food, but we need to limit it. It should just be once in a while. Some people love fried meat, fried dodo, fried this, fry everything, fry. They will even fry their hair. Please, we need to be very, very careful. Then also when we go to the dentist, some of us have holes in our teeth. We go to the dentist, we tell them to put some, fillings in it. When nowadays dentists are beginning to know that mercury fillings are not good, so they have alternatives. But ask, please, doctor, what kind of filling are you putting for me? Is it mercury? If he says yes, he says, please, I want the alternative. It may be a little more expensive, but it's better for you in the long run. Mercury will continue to leach into your body, and at the end of the day, give you a lot of problems. Industrial waste smoke, we know that. Food additives, I've talked about it. Coloring, flavoring, MSG, please, let's avoid it. You don't need to color your food. Some people will have palm oil. I've gone to the market and people add coloring to palm oil. How red do you want palm oil to be? Palm oil is already red, and you see people putting coloring in it again. And I wonder, does it make sense? It doesn't. It just does not make sense, all right? Then those styrofoam. We know what styrofoam is. Those food packages that we normally put rice in, that's fuku like this. Please, let's try to minimize using it in the house. Maybe when you go out, you need to put food in it, yes. But once you are done with it, please don't put hot food into it and eat, all right? Just once in a while, if you must eat it. If possible, use alternatives. Use your plates, use your ceramics, use your unbreakable plates. They are better in the long run. All right? Then dry cleaning. I want to mention that many of us dry clean. When you dry clean your clothes and bring them home, open them up and allow it to aerate, because they're using chemicals to dry clean. You dry clean and then you wear immediately. Where does the chemical go? It goes into your bodies, and it can trigger anything. So when you dry clean, when you get home, leave it for as long as possible. A day, 2 days, allow fresh air, all right? And before you now take it in. So let's be very careful. So I think I've touched on most of what I want to touch there. Shall we move on quickly, please? Let's move on so that we can move faster. Shall we? All right. So we have the heavy metals, like I told you. Mercury causes cancer. Arsenic also disrupts the hormones. Aluminium, like I told you, causes Alzheimer's. Lead damages the liver, usually in our fillings. Cadmium contributes to higher cancer rates. And so these are some of the things that the heavy metals cause. That's why I said your aluminum pots, you need to start substituting with stainless steel. All right, let's move on. Specific herb protocols. I have here some specific herbs that you can use for cleansing. You know, I said detoxification is so. We have dandelion, urine, very, very good for cleansing, for detoxifying. Milk thistle, pineapple, pawpaw, these are wonderful. Liver flush, these are wonderful herb protocols that you can use for detoxifying. For your kidney, cucumber. Do you know that cucumber helps with detoxifying of your liver, of your kidney rather? Wonderful. Steam distilled water. That's water that doesn't have any minerals in it. It has been that's been distilled, that's been cooked. But you don't take it for long. Just take it for about a month or two. It will allow your kidney to rest, all right? It will allow your kidney to rest. It won't digest any water. After a while, you now go back to normal water. Lymphatic drainage, jump on the trampoline, massage, colon cleansing. We know psyllium husk. Have you heard of psyllium? Fennel, wonderful. Aloe vera, wonderful for cleansing your colon. General detox, we have all cell detox. But these are some of the specific herbs that you can use to cleanse your body and particularly the organs of the body. Shall we move on? So many of them we have around, all right? We have yori, we have pineapple, pawpaw, all of them. And so a decision is required. What is required? We need to, for us to improve our health, we need to decide to remove toxins from our body. We've seen the various pathways of detoxification. We need to have knowledge. We need to also apply discipline. Discipline is very important, all right? Very, very important. We're all trying to follow Christ, and Christ was disciplined. Was he not? Very disciplined. And so we also need to apply discipline. Whatever needs to be removed, let's remove it. Let's have the tenacity to remove it. And whatever we need to imbibe, let's imbibe. Let's move on, please. Fifth principle, personal hygiene and environmental cleanliness. This is very simple. We need to stem the tide of epidemics, spread of disease, through environmental cleanliness and personal hygiene. This does not need to be overflowed. Nourishment, principle of nourishment. I always tell people, when you eat, you should have two things in mind. Your food should be a source of nourishment and should be a source of medicine. Your food should be what? Should function as nourishment for you and as what? Medicine. Once you want to put something in your mouth and it is not going to serve as nourishment, nor is it going to serve as medicine, please do what? Throw it away. Whatever is going to your mouth, always have it at the back of your mind. I'm eating this food. I'm blessing it so that it does what? Nourishes me. I'm eating this, or I'm drinking this agbo because it's going to serve as what? Medicine. But if it is not serving any of these two purposes, don't do what? Don't drink it. So our diet can be the source of all kinds of illnesses and disease. We need to be very careful. Thank you. Shall we move on quickly? I've said this. Our Creator gave us food both as nourishment and as medicine, and it should serve these two purposes. Deficiencies lead to diseases, all right? So if it's either we don't have the nutrients or it is not sufficient, all right? Either we don't have the nutrients or it is not sufficient. That's why we need to pay close attention to our diet. Can we move on? Why do we have deficiencies? The way we cook. Mothers in the house, don't overcook your food. You're cooking vegetable. You don't need to cook and cook and cook. Your vegetable should be crunchy when you cook. Daddy might say, this vegetable is too crunchy. Just say, my dear, that's the way it should be. And give him a beautiful smile. All right? Our vegetables should be crunchy when we eat. We shouldn't overcook. All right? So it's very, very important. Let's move on. We've talked about cooking. All right? Let's not overflog it. Let's move on. Let's move on. Raw eating. Yes. This is the way I want us to look at. Please, let's try and modify our food, the way we eat. Let's try and imbibe it. 50% of our food should be raw and 50% should be cooked. Particularly the older you get, the more raw foods you should imbibe. When you're younger, you can digest very well. But as we get older, our digestive system begins to slow down. So take more of raw foods. In the morning, raw foods. All right? Afternoon, you can eat your cooked meals. Then in the night, precede your dinner with a raw meal. Cucumber or whatever. All right? This is very important so that you can enjoy it. Okay? So this is where we shall be ending our program for today, because we're soon going to go into the main item for the evening. I hope we all learned something. I hope we all learned something from what we discussed. And I just want to encourage all of us. We don't want to become just hearers of the word, but what? doers of the word, because that is wisdom. Wisdom is when you apply the knowledge that you have gotten. And may God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Let's give her a round of applause. Let's appreciate her. Amen. So I think she's still around. You might see her after the video for any questions. Praise God. Praise God. So some quick information. Please, all the children, kindly move to the children church. Please, and there are some children sleeping at the back. Please, you need to wake them up so that we have some adults that they can sit down. Please, all children, please, the children church is free. Please, you need to move there right now. Please. Then the choir seats, please. We need all our adults there, please, to vacate the choir seats. Please, the choirs, they need to sit down, please. All the children, please, down to the children church, please, so that we can commence tonight's video. Please, can we just make it snappy, please?